All right, so we were going to start today with giving you a little bit of an overview of what we did last July, actually on Shine Day. Thanks. Last July, so July 17th of last year, which was give a presentation to the FDA. One of the things we do is engage with regulators. So we've applied and communicated a number of times to have an ICD-10 code that helps us get diagnosis. One of the other things we've done is engage with the FDA, and that's because at some point or other, this is the Food and Drug Administration, and so drugs is what we're working towards. And so any treatment that we want to hope to develop is going to have at some point to have a trial that goes through the FDA to get approved by the FDA, to then get approved abroad. You know, they won't approve something that hasn't been approved here. And all of that is regulated very tightly by this, agency. And they have organized something that they call the Patient Listening Sessions. And they can request some when they want to know something, but patient advocacy groups can request to hold one to let them know who we are and what we need. And so we did that. We had applied and were approved for a session, so we organized it and had that last July. And you may have read the summary. We've put it on the website, but if you haven't, this is a quick overview of what it's for, what we presented, and what we hope will come of it. So the goal of the session is, like I said, to give the FDA an opportunity to hear about the wide spectrum of experiences, the wide phenotype that this disorder has, what families living with DLG4 Shine experience daily, how it impacts our lives. Learn what we would consider meaningful outcomes. So if we're having, sorry, can you go? Yeah, thanks. If we are working towards a treatment, what are we trying to do with it, right? What are we trying to treat? What are the symptoms that impact our lives that we want to modify? And then gauge the willingness from patients in terms of risk. So certain treatments are riskier than others. The therapies are given in different ways. Some people are not risk averse, and some people are more open to things that are a little bit riskier because it might pay off in some ways in their life. So they need to know, will people engage with those trials? If we hold a trial that has a lot of risk, will there be patients that are willing to participate, right? So that's one of the things they look into. And then so that's my last point, is it informs their regulatory decision. So when a pharmaceutical company approaches them with a treatment and a trial and the protocol for it, they're trying to gauge, are we trying to treat the right thing that the families will find meaningful? And will the patients engage with that treatment, that trial, et cetera? So is it worth getting involved and letting this happen?
Right, like, so for example, you heard about the AAV9 yesterday. That's a pretty permanent treatment, meaning once you enroll in that clinical trial, you can't reverse it. But if there was a drug trial, like the DHA one that Dr. Medina said, a drug is a drug. You can stop it at any time. So they wanted to hear from real families, FDA did, to say, like, okay, if there was an AAV9, do you have families that would sign up for that clinical trial?
Exactly.
So they heard from, all families that were on both sides of the spectrum. Like,
oh, that's mine. Hi. Do you want to say hi to everyone and then we can keep going? Do you want to say hello?
Yeah.
Say hello. Okay, say hello.
Jackie, say hi and sit.
Say hi to everybody. You can wave.
Can you wave at least?
Wave. And then I'll keep it. Is that okay? High five. I can't share. Do we have one for her? So who attends them? They're open to all the FDA offices and other regulatory bodies like the NIH. They're close to the public, so we were only allowed to prepare a very set amount of people. I think it's supposed to be up to 7 or 8 parents. Usually you're not allowed to bring a physician, but we had an exception made to just explain the disorder because it's so new, and they allowed that. So a lot of people from the FDA attended. We were very lucky. Part of the reason they let them happen or not in their decision making is they throw an invitation and they try to see if FDA personnel is interested. And if enough offices and people want to attend, they figure, okay, this is of interest to the regulators. And in our case, we had 21 different FDA offices attend, looking into like some people who work on neuroscience, rare disease, but also new drug, technology, innovation, like many different. And the full list is on the summary. So if you want to read exactly what offices were listening and now know about DLG4 Shine, it's all listed there. And then there was one person from the Reagan-Udall Foundation and one from the NIH, the Center for Advancing Translational Sciences, which is very apropos for our disorder. What we presented, so we started with a short overview of the biggest challenges of the disorder. Main symptoms, key points from the Simon Searchlight questionnaire, like registry answers. So we had looked at their summaries, the ones you saw yesterday, and you could see, you know, those bars, those colorful bars and graphs that Simon's gives us. That was helpful. We were able to show them numbers from, you know, a real registry, so they can trust that the information we're giving is accurate. And then we presented a quick graph of, we had done a poll. Some of you might remember participating in it. We had done a poll in the Facebook group to ask families, what does matter to you the most? If you were to improve an outcome, which one is the most important? If you're to give a drug, what are you trying to improve? And, you know, of course, everything and anything, but like, what are your top priorities? And it ended up being, I believe it was language, independence, and social skills. I don't think
sleep wasn't it? Oh,
behavior, independence, and language and communication, yeah. So those were the top hits, and we told them that. They asked further questions, you'll see at the end, and we expanded. But that way they know this isn't just what you're saying, this is what your population as a whole. We didn't want to just come a few people and say what is important to us, although we went into that, and then that's one of the ways they learned. But we were able to tell them, look, we asked the population, we know these are their priorities. So what we presented was the perspective from 7 caregivers, different ages, both sexes, so a little bit of everything. We tried to really represent a wide spectrum. And when we organized it, we tried all to focus on different aspects so that everything would sort of be covered. There was, like I said, one physician who was permitted to participate, and it was Dr. Dai, who is a neurologist, so we understand that aspect. He works on sleep, and he also knows a few patients, which is especially, you know, it's getting a little bit better, but it's pretty rare to have a physician who has more than one patient. So we were lucky to get him to participate. In terms of what the families who presented talked about, one parent talked about regression and severe epilepsy. One person focused on the impact of therapies and sleep disturbances. A third person did family quality of life and the high financial costs that can come with special needs and with the disorder. Needs for customized solutions, constant oversight and support. Issues associated with transition to adulthood and guardianship if you need to place your child and they can't live independently, and that whole, you know, journey. The impact of anxiety and intellectual disability on daily and social life, and the burden of the complexity and the inconsistency of the disorder on families. And so what we were trying to convey overall with those points, and what we ended up concluding, is that the symptoms that affect our loved ones need to be improved, and it's language and communication, behavioral challenges, limited independence, anxiety, motor skills, and seizures. So we expanded a little bit above those 3 points, and we, you know, really narrowed it down to what we thought were all the aspects that different families might need the focus for improvement on. We impressed upon them the increasing awareness and education, that increasing awareness and education about DLG4 Shine with physicians would be important. It was actually a point Tim had made during the conversation. There was a Q&A at the end, and they asked follow-ups, and he told them more providers need to understand what we're living through so that our daily care is improved, so that we have access to the right testing, the right specialists. And then we told them, and they could tell, that the families vary in the level of risk that they're willing to take for clinical trials, but that because of the various needs and because of the various risk, tolerance, we need a variety of treatment options. So we were telling them, don't just approve one treatment just because there is an AAV. That's not enough. Not everybody's going to want that. We're going to need more trials than just the one. We're going to need more treatments than just the ones. This is very wide, both in risk tolerance and in outcomes and what we're trying to improve. But we did let them know that we had asked in the group, and again, we had done a graph, and that many families were very willing to participate in trials of different, aspects and degrees of risk, but that they would participate in trials and that they would do long-term studies, and that everybody in this community is motivated to improve their kids' lives and their own quality of life. So we let them know if a pharmaceutical company comes at them, let them through, was our point. And if you want to read the full summary, it is on the website. It is also on the FDA's website, which is pretty cool. So they have a page with all of the summaries for the disorders that I've presented. So anyone who wants to know what was talked about can go on the FDA's. You can look at those of different disorders if you're curious, and you can read the summary. The summary is a little bit more detailed, of course, than what I spoke about today, but you could see a little excerpt. We had included photos of the kids that were concerned and little quotes from families and a little summary of what was talked about. So that's Adnan, Sabrina's son, and that's Cedric, my little dude. And so I hope you go and read the full summary if you haven't yet. And when, yeah? That is a great question.
Like the graphs from the Facebook group and the Simon Searchlight summary, is that included?
I don't think so. No, our slideshow included them, obviously, but the FDA was pretty specific about what we were allowed to share, what was public or not. They were very iffy about names. We did first names only. You'll all know who's who, but they didn't want us to use anything. So I don't think the graph, but...
Are they on the website?
Yeah, so the graphs we used are on our socials. When Simon Searchlight gives a report, usually we post it on social media. We take excerpts that have some new information, and they're there. So you should be able to find those. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But were you asking, do you want to know if you want to know what the families are willing to...
Yeah, just stuff that I can bring back to the lab so that as we continue, looking at experiments, especially like behavioral ones, looking at the particular maybe aspects that you guys mentioned there.
We can, yeah.
If you want us to post
yeah, it gives us direction.
Yeah.
We
can send them to you.
Facebook polls. And because there's only 20 families here, but we have over 200 on our Facebook group.
And it's something we're going to probably redo, right? Like as the population grows, it's important to re-gauge what's important to whom and right. Who's willing to do what. New families are, on the one hand, might be affected differently or might be from, a culture that's less or more open. But I think as people learn more about gene therapies, they're getting more understanding, which makes them more open to it. So it's probably a poll we're going to retake regularly. And I believe there's further sessions that can be made. Yes. So this is a first step, and there are further steps, and we intend on taking them.
This is just the first session. I think the second one, when we have something more concrete, will be an open session, I think. I don't remember. But if it is an open session, then we would invite all our families to attend and tell the FDA what they're willing to do or not.
Can I just add one thing?
Yeah.
So I think it's important for everyone, I think everyone here realizes, but maybe not everyone online realizes, the question came from a researcher, so she's looking for the information. And that's why it's important when we have these posts on socials and we're asking for information, it's because we're giving the information to the researchers so that they can help identify what they should be studying to help our children. So that's the reason that we're asking for the information, and that's why it's so important for us as families to provide the information. I just wanted to note that.
Absolutely.